Good evening. Welcome. Tonight, we will walk a path of gentle discovery together, a journey into the heart of kindness. Zen Buddhism teaches us that the deepest wisdom is often the simplest. Before we begin, if your heart feels called, feel free to share which country you are listening from and what time it is for you. From what corner of the world are you breathing with us now? We will explore tonight how compassion is not an effort, but a returning to our natural state. It is the quiet space that opens when we stop struggling and simply allow ourselves to be. These stories are invitations to feel that space within you, a space of profound peace and connection that is always present, waiting for our attention. This is a sanctuary for inner cultivation, a place to nourish the mind and awaken the spirit. Here, you can just be, breathe, and let the words guide you inward. You already have everything you need. We are just here to remember what already lives within you. If these words touch something deep inside, return whenever you need this quiet meeting. Consider subscribing to keep this harbor of peace close. Now, take a slow breath in and be present. Let yourself settle into the space you are in. Feel the weight of your body being held, completely supported. Allow the day to gently fall away, releasing any tension you might be holding. Just breathe. The gift of a single coin. The intention behind giving. In a small village nestled by a quiet river, there lived a woman named Carla. She was known for her gentle presence, though she had very little to her name. One day, the local monastery announced a special collection to support families facing a difficult season. Villagers arrived with sacks of rice, fine silks, and generous donations. Carla watched from a distance, her heart longing to contribute, but her hands were empty, save for a single small coin she had kept for an emergency meal. It was all she had in the world, a tiny piece of copper worn smooth by time. After much thought, she approached the monastery that evening, long after the wealthy patrons had departed. In the dim light of a single lantern, she found the head monk, a wise elder named Ananda, sweeping the temple steps. With a quiet bow, she opened her hand and presented the small coin. She felt a touch of shame at how insignificant her offering seemed compared to the day's great donations. She explained, her voice barely a whisper, that this was all she could give, but that her heart wished it could be more for the community. The old monk Ananda stopped sweeping. He looked not at the coin, but into Kayla's eyes, and he saw the depth of her sincerity. He accepted the small offering with the same reverence he would a bag of gold. He told her that an act of giving is not measured by its size, but by the space it leaves behind in the giver's heart. He explained that a small gift given with a full heart is more powerful than a large gift given from a place of abundance with little thought. Her single coin, he said, contained the whole of her compassionate spirit. Carla felt a warmth spread through her chest, a sense of peace that was worth more than any treasure. She understood then that true generosity, the practice of dana, is not about what is given, but about the quality of the heart that gives. It is an act of letting go, of sharing one's own life force, no matter how small it may seem. It is the intention to soften, to connect, and to relieve suffering that holds the real power. Her small act was a complete expression of her Buddhist teachings. The next day, the monk Ananda gathered the other monks and told them the story of Carla's coin. He used it as a teaching on awareness and true charity. He explained that many people give from their surplus, which is a good and helpful act. But to give from your essential self, to share the little you have with an open and willing heart, is a profound practice. It is an act that purifies the mind and dissolves the illusion of a separate self. This is the heart of deep sleep and true rest. That evening, as Carla prepared for sleep, she felt a quiet joy. Her hunger was real, but her spirit was nourished. She had learned that the path of service was not reserved for the wealthy or powerful. It was a path open to everyone, in every moment, with every small gesture. The sleepy village was quiet, but her heart was awake. She realized that her single coin was not a symbol of her poverty, but a symbol of her boundless connection to all beings. This story teaches us about the nature of selfless giving. The monk understood that the real value of a gift is not in its market price, but in the spirit with which it is offered. Kayla's offering, though materially small, was spiritually vast. It was an act of non-attachment, a release of the last thing she clung to for her own security. It was a perfect demonstration of trust in the flow of life and a deep understanding of interconnectedness. When we give from a place of pure intention, we are not just helping another person. We are participating in a sacred exchange that nourishes both the giver and the receiver. It is a form of insight meditation in action. It teaches us that our inner wealth is not measured by what we accumulate, but by what we can release with love. This is a core lesson in Zen wisdom. It shows us how to live with an open heart. The Buddha once said that even if a person were to conquer in battle 1,000 times 1,000 men, and another person were to conquer just one, himself, the second person, is the greater conqueror. In giving her last coin, Carla conquered the part of herself that clung to fear and security. She performed an act of profound self-mastery, an act of true peace. This is the foundation of a life of service. As we continue our journey tonight, let us carry this feeling of wholehearted giving with us. Let us explore other ways we can serve not with grand gestures, but with the simple, honest offering of our presence and our attention. Let the story of Carla's coin be a gentle reminder that you always have enough to give when you give from the heart. The monk who carried the woman. Letting go of burdens. Two Zen monks, a senior monk named Tanzan and a junior monk named Aikido, were traveling together on a long pilgrimage. Their path was one of quiet mindfulness, walking in silence for hours, their attention focused on each step. After a heavy rain, they came upon a muddy section of the road. There, a young woman in a fine silk kimono stood, unable to cross without soiling her beautiful clothing. She looked distressed, worried about how she would get to her destination. The path ahead was a river of mud, and her face showed her anxiety. Without a word, the senior monk, Tanzan, walked over to her. He smiled gently, bent down, and lifted her into his arms. He then carried her across the deep mud and carefully set her down on the dry ground on the other side. The woman, surprised and grateful, bowed to him and went on her way. Tanzan simply bowed in return and continued his journey. Aikido, the junior monk, watched this entire exchange with a look of shock and disapproval. He said nothing, but his mind was in turmoil. The two monks walked on for miles. The sun began to set, casting a golden light on the path. The silence between them was no longer peaceful, but thick with Aikido's unspoken judgment. He replayed the scene over and over in his mind. Their monastic code was very clear. Monks were not to touch women. They were not to even get close to them. Tanzan had not just touched a woman, he had carried her in his arms. Aikido's mind was a storm of friction and righteousness, creating immense suffering for himself. Finally, as they approached the monastery where they would spend the night, Aikido could no longer contain his agitation. He stopped, turned to Tanzan, and burst out with his complaint. He said, "We monks are not supposed to go near females, especially not young and lovely ones. It is too dangerous. Why did you do that? Why did you break such an important rule of our order?" His voice was filled with accusation, the weight of his hours of inner conflict pouring out. Tanzan looked at Aikido, his expression one of calm compassion. He listened patiently until the younger monk had finished his outburst. Then, with a soft, quiet voice, he replied with a simple question. He said, "I left the woman by the river hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" This question was a gentle mirror, reflecting Aikido's own mind back to him. It was an act of great loving kindness, a teaching delivered in a single, piercing moment of clarity. Aikido was speechless. In that instant, he realized what Tanzan was teaching him. Tanzan had performed an act of spontaneous compassion, responding to the need of the present moment. Once the act was complete, he had let it go completely. Aikido, on the other hand, had picked up the event in his mind. and had been carrying its heavy weight for miles. He was the one who was truly burdened, not by the woman, but by his own rigid thoughts and judgments. His clinging created his own prison. This story illustrates the profound difference between rules and compassion. Rules can be a helpful guide, but true spiritual practice means knowing when to set them aside to respond to a real human need. True compassion is not a concept, it is a direct experience. It is flexible, responsive, and free from the grip of the ego's need to be right. It is a form of effortless action, or wu wei, flowing naturally from a state of presence. The senior monk demonstrated this natural intelligence. Furthermore, it is a powerful lesson in emotional non-attachment and the practice of letting go. How often do we carry things in our minds long after the event has passed? We carry old resentments, worries, and judgments like a heavy pack on our backs. These mental formations become a source of constant, low-level tension and unsatisfactoriness. We cling to our stories about what happened, creating a heavy past that clouds the beauty of the here and now. A Zen master once said, "The only thing you lose is what you cling to." Aikido was clinging to a rule, to his idea of what a monk should be, and to his judgment of Tanzan. This clinging was the source of his inner turmoil. The invitation in this story is to notice what we are carrying. What old stories, grievances, or worries are we holding on to long after their moment has passed? Can we set them down, just as Tanzan set down the woman by the river? As you settle into a state of deep rest, allow this question to resonate within you. Are you still carrying something? You do not need to analyze it or judge it. Simply notice it with gentle awareness. And then, with your next exhale, imagine setting it down on the side of the road. Feel the lightness that comes with that release. There is nothing you need to carry into your sleep. Just the gentle rhythm of your own breath, the weight of the world. Care versus carrying. There was a young disciple in a monastery named Kenji. He was known for his deeply empathetic heart. When he heard stories of suffering in the nearby villages, he felt them as if they were his own. The news of a poor harvest, a family's illness, or a child's misfortune would weigh on him for days. He spent his time in a state of constant, sorrowful preoccupation. He believed that to be a compassionate person, he needed to feel the full weight of the world's pain. His sincere wish was to be of service, but his heart was growing heavy. One day, his teacher, an old master named Ryuji, noticed the deep sadness in Kenji's eyes. He saw that the young monk's energy was drained, not by his work in the monastery, but by the burden he carried within his mind. Ryuji invited Kenji for a walk in the monastery's rock garden. He pointed to a large, heavy stone near the entrance. He asked Kenji, "Please, pick up this stone and carry it with us as we walk." Kenji, though puzzled, obeyed. The stone was heavy and awkward. At first, Kenji could manage it, but as they walked the winding paths of the garden, his arms began to ache. His breath grew short, and his focus shifted from the beauty of the garden to the strain in his muscles. He struggled to keep up with the master, his steps becoming clumsy and labored. The weight of the stone consumed all his attention. He was no longer present, only enduring the task he was given. After some time, Master Ryuji stopped beside a small pond and turned to Kenji. The young monk was sweating and trembling from the effort. The master asked him gently, "How do you feel?" Kenji replied, exhausted, "Master, this stone is too heavy. I cannot carry it much further. My only thought is of its weight and when I can finally put it down." The master nodded, his eyes full of understanding and a deep, quiet kindness. Ryuji then said, "The suffering of the world is like this stone. You see it, and out of your good heart, you pick it up and try to carry it all. But you are only one person. You cannot carry the whole world. Trying to do so only exhausts you and makes you unable to help anyone, not even yourself. Compassion is not about carrying the weight. It is about seeing the weight, understanding it, and then doing what you can, where you are, with what you have. Your service should come from a place of steadiness, not strain. He then instructed Kenji to put the stone down by the edge of the pond. The relief was immediate and immense. Kenji felt the blood rush back into his arms, his breath deepen, and his awareness return to the world around him. He could hear the birds singing again. He could feel the gentle breeze. He looked at the stone, now sitting peacefully on the ground, and understood the lesson. He could still see the stone, acknowledge its weight, but he did not have to carry it. This was the difference between care and carrying. This story teaches a vital aspect of skillful service. It is the distinction between empathy and compassionate action. Empathy allows us to feel with another, but if we get lost in that feeling, we become overwhelmed and ineffective. This is a form of ego hunger, the need to feel like a good person by suffering alongside others. True compassion, or karuna, includes the wisdom of equanimity. It is the ability to care deeply and to act effectively without losing our own inner balance. Pema Chodron speaks of this when she says that compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It is a relationship between equals. It is knowing that we all share the same capacity for joy and the same vulnerability to suffering. Service, from this perspective, is not a top-down act of saving someone. It is a side-by-side act of supporting presence. It is about offering a steady hand, not taking on another's entire journey as our own. We must learn to soften the grip. The world is full of suffering. This is the first noble truth. But our role is not to carry all of it. Our role is to tend to our own small corner of the garden with as much presence and love as we can muster. By keeping our own hearts balanced and our minds clear, we become a source of peace for those around us. An anxious, overwhelmed person only adds more friction to the world. A calm, centered person is a natural source of healing. As you rest tonight, bring this gentle awareness to your own body. Notice if you are carrying any weight that is not yours to hold. Perhaps it is a worry about a loved one, a concern for the world, or a past event you cannot change. Acknowledge it with care, as Master Ryuji acknowledged Kenji's effort. And then, with a conscious breath, give yourself permission to set it down. You can care deeply without carrying. Let your bed be the soft ground by the pond, where all burdens can be released for the night, the general and the strawberry. Gratitude in the present moment. There is a well-known Zen story about a great general named Kaito. He was a man of action and power, accustomed to commanding armies and shaping the fate of nations. One day, during a fierce battle, his forces were overwhelmed. To escape certain death, he fled into the mountains, pursued by his enemies. He ran for his life, his heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. The thrill of the chase was a lesson in impermanence. His identity as a powerful general was dissolving with every desperate step he took. The chase led him to the edge of a high cliff. With nowhere else to go, he spotted a thick vine growing down the cliff face. He grabbed onto it and began to lower himself, hoping to find a ledge where he could hide. As he dangled precariously over the abyss, he looked up and saw two small mice, one white and one black, at the top of the vine. They were systematically gnawing at the very vine he was clinging to. He knew that soon the vine would break. He then looked down, and to his horror, he saw two hungry tigers pacing on the ground below, their eyes fixed on him, waiting for him to fall. His situation was utterly hopeless. Death was certain, whether from the mice chewing through the vine or the tigers waiting below. The white mouse and the black mouse represented day and night, the relentless passing of time that gnaws away at every life. The tigers represented the inescapable reality of death. In this moment of complete and utter surrender, squeezed between a past he could not return to and a future he could not escape, something remarkable happened. General Kaito noticed a single wild strawberry growing from a small crevice in the cliff face, just within his reach. It was a perfect strawberry, bright red and glistening with dew. All his training in awareness, all his life experience, narrowed to this one simple, beautiful thing. He was suspended between life and death. With his free hand, he carefully plucked the strawberry. He brought it to his lips, smelled its sweet fragrance, and then he ate it. The story says that it was the most delicious strawberry he had ever tasted. In that single moment, with death imminent from above and below, he was not a general. He was not a man running for his life. He was simply a being experiencing the pure, unadulterated sweetness of a strawberry. He found a moment of perfect presence. This story is a profound teaching on finding peace and gratitude in the here and now. General Kaito could have spent his last moments in terror, cursing the mice, fearing the tigers. Instead, he chose to fully inhabit the only moment he had, the present. He found a pocket of grace in the midst of chaos. This is not a story about giving up. It is a story about showing up completely for your life, whatever it holds. This is the heart of Zen wisdom. The ability to find this moment of peace is the foundation from which true service can flow. When we are caught in our own anxieties, our own mental tigers and mice, we have very little to offer others. Our energy is consumed by our internal battles. But when we can find a moment of stillness, a single strawberry of gratitude in our day, we connect with a source of peace that is unshakable. From this place, our actions become imbued with a different quality. The practice here is not to ignore the dangers or difficulties of life. The tigers are real. The mice are real. The challenges we face are valid. The teaching is to not let them consume our entire awareness. Even in the midst of great difficulty, there is always something for which we can be grateful. It might be the feeling of the breath in our lungs, the warmth of a blanket, or the taste of a simple sip of water. These are our strawberries. Thich Nhat Hanh, the beloved Zen master, often spoke of the joy that is available in the present moment. He taught that peace is not an absence of problems, but the ability to be with our problems with a calm and open heart. He would say that the miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth, dwelling deeply in the present moment, to appreciate the peace and beauty that are available now. As you prepare for deep sleep, perhaps you can find your own strawberry. It does not need to be anything grand. Simply bring your awareness to one small, simple pleasure: the softness of your pillow, the quiet of the room, the feeling of your body at rest. Allow yourself to fully experience this one sensation, this one moment of sweetness. Let it be enough. Let it be the anchor that holds you in the gentle peace of the present, right here, right now, the uncarved block, the service of being. In a secluded monastery high in the mountains lived a young nun named Amara. She was filled with a boundless desire to serve. From morning until night, she was a whirlwind of activity. She rushed to comfort anyone who was sad. She offered to do the chores of the older nuns. She took on extra meditation periods, and she spent her free time studying complex Buddhist teachings so she could offer better advice. She was driven by a genuine and pure wish to lessen the suffering in her small world. However, over time, Amara began to feel a deep sense of exhaustion. She felt spread thin, like a single drop of water trying to put out a great fire. The more she did, the more she felt she needed to do. Her service, which had started from a place of love, was now fueled by a subtle anxiety, a feeling that she was never doing enough. She saw the other, older nuns moving with a sense of unhurried grace, and she wondered what their secret was. Their presence itself seemed to be a calming influence. One afternoon, her teacher, an elder nun named Lin, found Amara weeping quietly in the temple garden. Amara confessed her feelings of inadequacy and exhaustion. She said, "I try so hard to help everyone, but it feels like I am accomplishing nothing. I feel my efforts are clumsy and my energy is draining away. I want to be a source of peace, but I feel only friction inside." Lin listened with a deep, silent compassion, allowing Amara to empty her heart completely. When Amara was finished, Lin did not offer any complex advice. Instead, she led her to the woodcarver's workshop. In the corner of the room sat a large, uncarved block of sandalwood. It was simple, solid, and completely unadorned. It had not been shaped or forced into anything. It was just itself. Lin gestured to the block of wood and asked Amara, "What service does this block of wood perform?" Amara was confused. She said, "It performs no service. It is just a block of wood." Lin smiled gently. She said, "That is where you are mistaken. As it sits here in its simple, natural state, it fills the entire room with a beautiful, calming fragrance. It does not try to do anything. It does not strive to become a statue or a tool. It simply is what it is, and its very being is a gift to everyone who enters the room." This, she explained, is the principle of Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action. It is the wisdom of knowing when to act and when to simply be. Amara looked at the uncarved block, and for the first time she truly saw it. She breathed in its gentle, pervasive scent. She understood. She had been so focused on doing, on carving herself into what she thought a compassionate nun should be, that she had forgotten the power of her own simple, authentic presence. She had forgotten that sometimes the greatest service we can offer is the fragrance of our own inner stillness. It is the service of being, not doing. This story teaches us that our value does not lie solely in our actions. In a world that constantly demands productivity and visible results, it is a radical act to trust in the power of our own being. Your calm presence can be a sanctuary for others. Your quiet, non-judgmental listening can be more healing than 1,000 words of advice. Sometimes, the most compassionate thing we can do is to create a space of acceptance with our own centeredness. The Taoist philosopher Lao Tzu spoke of this in the Tao Te Ching. He said that the master acts without doing anything and teaches without saying anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. She has everything but possesses nothing. She acts but is not attached to the outcome. When her work is done, the people say, "We did it ourselves." This is the spirit of the uncarved block. It is a service so natural that it feels like it comes from within the person being served. So much of our striving comes from the ego, from the need to be seen as helpful or wise. It is a form of spiritual materialism. The practice of Wu Wei invites us to let go of this need. It asks us to trust that when we are aligned with our own true nature, our actions will be naturally beneficial to those around us. We don't have to force it. We can soften the grip and trust the natural flow of life. Let it happen instead of trying to make it happen. As you settle into your bed tonight, let go of the need to do anything. You do not need to solve, fix, or improve anything right now. Your only task is to rest. Allow yourself to be like the uncarved block of wood. Simple, solid, present. Trust that in this state of deep rest, you are offering a profound service to yourself. You are refilling your well. You are allowing the gentle fragrance of your own being to emerge naturally. This is more than enough. The leaky bucket. The beauty of imperfection. In a small village in India, an elderly water bearer had 2 large pots, each hung on one end of a pole which he carried across his neck. One of the pots was perfect and always delivered a full portion of water from the stream to his master's house. The other pot had a long crack in it. At the end of the long walk from the stream to the house, it would arrive only half full. For 2 full years, this went on daily, with the bearer delivering only 1.5 pots of water to his house. The perfect pot was very proud of its accomplishments. It felt it was perfectly suited for the task for which it was made. But the poor, cracked pot was deeply ashamed of its own imperfection. It felt miserable that it could only do half of what it was meant to do. It saw its leak as a sign of failure, a constant reminder of its inadequacy. This feeling of shame was a heavy weight, a form of suffering it carried on every journey. After 2 years of what it perceived as bitter failure, the cracked pot spoke to the water bearer one day by the stream. It said, "I am ashamed of myself, and I want to apologize to you." The water bearer asked, "Why? What are you ashamed of?" The pot replied, "Because of this crack in my side, I have been leaking water all the way back to your master's house. For 2 years, I have only delivered half my load. You do all of this work, and you do not get full value from your efforts because of my flaw." The water-bearer listened with a gentle smile. He felt compassion for the pot's suffering. He said to it, as we returned to the master's house, "I want you to notice the beautiful flowers growing along the path." And indeed, as they went up the hill, the cracked pot took notice of the sun warming the beautiful wildflowers on the side of the path. It was a lovely sight, and it cheered the pot for a moment. But at the end of the trail, it still felt bad, because it had leaked out half its water. The bearer then said to the pot, "Did you notice that there were flowers only on your side of the path? There are none on the other pot's side. That is because I have always known about your flaw. I took advantage of it. I planted flower seeds on your side of the path, and every day, while we walk back from the stream, you have been watering them. For 2 years, I have been able to pick these beautiful flowers to decorate the master's table. Without you being just the way you are, he would not have this beauty to grace his house." The pot was stunned. Its flaw, the very thing it was so ashamed of, was the source of all this beauty. Its leak was not a failure, but a channel for life. This understanding was a moment of awakening, a release from the prison of its own self-judgment. It was a practice in radical self-acceptance. This parable is a beautiful teaching from the Zen wisdom tradition about embracing our perceived imperfections. We all have our own unique flaws. We are all cracked pots. But it is the cracks and flaws that let the light in and that allow us to serve in unique and unexpected ways. We spend so much energy trying to hide or fix our cracks when we could be using them to water the flowers along our path. The Japanese have an art form called kintsugi. When a piece of pottery breaks, they repair it with golden lacquer. They do not try to hide the cracks. Instead, they illuminate them, believing that the piece is more beautiful for having been broken. The cracks tell a story. They are a mark of resilience and history. Our own cracks, our vulnerabilities, our past wounds are not things to be ashamed of. They are part of our story, and they can become sources of our greatest strength and compassion. The Zen master Shunryu Suzuki Roshi once said, "Each of you is perfect the way you are, and you could use a little improvement." This is the heart of the matter. It is a paradox. We can accept ourselves completely in this moment, with all our cracks and leaks, while also remaining open to growth. Self-acceptance is not an excuse for complacency. It is the solid ground upon which true and lasting change can be built. As you drift towards deep sleep, perhaps you can offer this same kindness to yourself. Think of a perceived flaw, a crack in your own pot. Instead of judging it, see if you can hold it with a little more tenderness. Consider the possibility that this very quality, this unique crack, has watered flowers you may not have even noticed. Trust that you are whole and complete, just as you are. Your service to the world comes not in spite of your cracks, but through them. The governor and the master, seeing our shared humanity. A powerful governor of a province, a man accustomed to honor and respect, went to visit a renowned Zen master. He was used to people bowing to him, addressing him by his formal titles, and treating him with a certain degree of awe. He approached the monastery with his entourage, fully expecting a special reception. His identity was deeply tied to his role, his power, and the way others perceived him. This role identification was a heavy cloak he wore at all times. When he arrived at the master's simple hut, the master was tending to his small garden. The governor announced himself in a loud, important voice, saying, "I am Governor Tanaka. I have come to see the great master." He stood there, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting for the master to stop his work and pay him the respect he felt he was owed. The master, an old man with clear eyes and a peaceful face, continued to pull a weed from the soil. After a moment, the master looked up, his gaze direct and simple. He did not bow. He did not use the governor's title. He simply said, "Oh, you must be the one they call Tanaka. Welcome. Please, come in and have some tea." The governor was taken aback. He was not used to being treated so plainly. He felt a flash of irritation. Did this old man not know who he was? He was the governor, a man of immense influence and importance. He followed the master into the hut, his mind buzzing with indignation. The master prepared the tea with slow, deliberate movements, his full attention on the task. There was no special ceremony, no fuss. He handed a simple clay cup to the governor. He then picked up his own cup and took a sip. The silence in the small room was profound. The governor felt his own importance beginning to feel heavy and absurd in this simple space. He finally said, "You are a famous Zen master. Do you not know that I am the governor of this entire province?" The master looked at him, his eyes twinkling with a gentle amusement. He replied, "You tell me that you are a governor. Your attendants call you governor. But who are you when you are not playing that role? Who are you before the thought 'I am governor' arises in your mind? Is that not a more interesting question?" This was an invitation to look beyond the surface. In that moment, the governor felt the heavy cloak of his identity slip from his shoulders. He saw that his title, his power, and his reputation were just concepts, ideas that he and others had agreed upon. They were not his true self. Beneath the role of governor, there was just a man, and sitting across from him was just another man. In that shared space of simple humanity, there was no hierarchy, no status, only presence. This was a deep insight into the nature of not self, or anatta. This story teaches us about the importance of looking past the labels and roles we assign to ourselves and others. We are not our jobs. We are not our social status. We are not our reputations. These are temporary and conditioned identities. True compassion and service arise when we can connect with the fundamental shared humanity that lies beneath all of these superficial layers. It is about seeing the person, not the title. When we are of service, do we treat the wealthy and the poor differently? Do we speak to the powerful with more respect than we offer to the powerless? The practice of clear seeing, or vipassana, asks us to notice these subtle biases in our own minds. It asks us to see how our ego attaches to these roles, both in ourselves and in others. True service comes from a place of equanimity, where every being is seen as worthy of the same kindness and respect. Dogen Zenji, a great Japanese Zen master, wrote, "To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. When we forget our small, ego-defined self, our roles and our titles, we open up to a vast sense of interconnectedness with all of life. We see that we are not separate from the person we are serving. The giver, the receiver, and the act of giving are all one. As you rest tonight, allow your own roles to soften. You may be a parent, a worker, a friend, a child. Let all of these labels gently dissolve for a little while. Feel yourself simply as a breathing, feeling human being, resting on this earth. In this simple, unadorned state of being, you are connected to everyone. There is no need for face-saving or pretense. Here, in the quiet of your own presence, you can find a peace that is not dependent on who you think you are. 3 pounds of flax, the sacred in the ordinary. In a bustling Zen monastery, a young and eager monk named Ryo approached the master with a question that had been burning in his heart. He had spent months studying the sutras, sitting in long hours of zazen meditation, and listening to the master's talks. He was searching for a profound, earth-shattering insight into the ultimate nature of reality. He bowed low and asked with great sincerity, "Master, what is Buddha? What is the ultimate truth I am searching for?" The master, who was at that moment overseeing the weighing of flax to be used for weaving cloth and making sandals, glanced at the scales. Without a moment of hesitation, he replied simply, 3 pounds of flax." Ryo was stunned into silence. He had expected a deep philosophical answer, a mysterious koan, or a pointer to a sacred text. Instead, he received a mundane, bafflingly ordinary reply. 3 pounds of flax. It made no sense to him at all. Disappointed and confused, Ryo retreated. He thought the master was dismissing him, or perhaps testing him in a way he could not understand. He observed the other monks as they went about their daily chores. He saw them sweeping the temple floors, tending the vegetable garden, cooking the daily meals, and weaving the very flax the master had spoken of. He saw their movements were filled with a quiet attention, a simple presence. He, on the other hand, performed his chores with impatience, seeing them as obstacles on his path to a grand enlightenment. Days turned into weeks, and the master's words echoed in his mind. 3 pounds of flax. He began to pay more attention to the flax itself. He watched how the raw plant was harvested, dried, and then spun into thread. He watched the weavers at their looms, their hands moving with a practiced rhythm, turning the simple thread into functional cloth. He saw the care and mindfulness that went into each step of the process. He started to see that the life of the monastery was not separate from the search for Buddha. One afternoon, while washing rice for the evening meal, Rio felt the cool water on his hands. He felt the texture of each individual grain. He heard the sound of the water swirling in the clay bowl. In that moment, his mind became completely still. The frantic search for a special answer, for a distant enlightenment, fell away. He realized that the master's answer was not a riddle. It was a direct, literal, and profoundly simple truth. Buddha was not somewhere else. Buddha was right here. The sacred was not in a faraway concept. It was in the feeling of the water, the texture of the rice, the weight of the flax. The path to awakening was not a journey to a different place. It was the practice of showing up completely for the life that was already happening. The ultimate truth was in the ordinary. Service was not just a set of tasks to be completed. It was the very field of practice. Sweeping the floor was sweeping the mind. Cooking the meal was nourishing the community spirit. This story points to a core principle of Zen wisdom. The sacred is not separate from the secular. Our daily lives, with all their mundane details, are the very arena of our spiritual practice. We often think that our spiritual life is something we do on a meditation cushion or in a temple, and that our work, our chores, and our daily interactions are something else entirely. Zen teaches us that there is no separation. Every act can be a meditation if it is done with full awareness. This is the essence of the famous Zen saying, chop wood, carry water. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. The outer activities of life may not change. What changes is the quality of our presence that we bring to them. Any task, when performed with wholehearted attention, becomes an act of service and a path to insight. It becomes a way of polishing the mirror of the mind, so it can reflect reality more clearly. When we are fully present with our task, whether it is washing a dish, writing an email, or listening to a friend, we are not just performing an action. We are offering the gift of our attention. This is a profound form of kindness and service. It cuts through the mental chatter of past and future, and it anchors us in the simple, powerful reality of the here and now. It is a way of touching the Buddha nature in every moment. As you lie here, preparing for rest, there is no grand spiritual task you need to accomplish. The invitation is simply to feel. Feel the texture of your blanket. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your chest with each breath. Feel the stillness in the room. This is your 3 pounds of flax. This is the sacred, ordinary reality of this moment. There is nowhere else you need to be, and nothing else you need to understand. Just this. The moon in a dewdrop. Interconnectedness of service. The poet-monk Ryokan lived a simple life in a small hut in the mountains. He was known for his gentle heart and his deep connection with nature and children. One of his disciples, a young man named Kaito, was filled with a great ambition to perform a significant act of service. He wanted to build a great temple, or feed 1,000 people, or do something large and visible that would prove his devotion and benefit many beings. He felt his small daily practices were insignificant. He came to Ryokan one evening, his heart full of this restless craving to do more. He spoke of his grand plans, his desire to make a big impact on the world. He asked the master, How can I best serve the world? What great act can I perform to show my compassion? Ryokan listened patiently, his face calm and his eyes reflecting the light of the evening sky. He did not dismiss the young man's ambition, but he saw the ego hunger hidden within it. When Kaito had finished, Ryokan did not give him a lecture or a grand plan. Instead, he beckoned him to follow him outside. The sky was clear, and a brilliant full moon was rising over the mountains, casting a silvery light over the entire landscape. The air was cool and still. Ryokan led Kaito to a patch of grass near the hut, where the evening dew had begun to form on the blades of grass. It was a scene of simple, profound beauty. The master knelt down, his movements slow and deliberate. He pointed to a single, perfect blade of grass. On the very tip of that blade, a tiny dewdrop had formed. It trembled slightly in the night air, a perfect, glistening sphere. Ryokan whispered to Kaito, "Look closely." Kaito knelt beside his master and peered at the tiny drop of water. And there, held within the almost impossibly small space of that single dewdrop, he saw it. The perfect, complete reflection of the entire moon. Kaito gasped. The vast, magnificent moon that filled the entire sky was also contained, in its entirety, within this one tiny, insignificant drop of water. In that moment of direct experience, he understood the teaching his master was offering him. He understood the Buddhist principle of dependent origination, the profound interconnectedness of all things. The largest and the smallest were not separate. The whole universe was present in every single part. Ryokan then spoke softly, his voice like the rustling leaves. He said, "You wish to perform a great act of service, but there is no such thing as a small act. When you offer a single grain of rice with a pure heart, you are feeding the entire universe. When you offer a kind word to one person, your kindness ripples outwards in ways you can never fully see. The entire moon is reflected in one dewdrop. The entire cosmos is present in one single mindful act of compassion." This story reveals the illusion of scale. Our minds tend to categorize actions as big or small, important or insignificant. But from the perspective of Zen wisdom, these distinctions are arbitrary. The universe is a vast, interconnected web of causes and conditions. Every thread is connected to every other thread. A vibration on one side of the web is felt across the entire structure. No act of kindness, no matter how small it seems, is ever wasted or isolated. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught this with his concept of interbeing. He would say that if you look deeply into a flower, you can see the sun, the clouds, the rain, the soil, and the gardener. Everything in the cosmos has conspired to help that flower manifest. In the same way, when we perform an act of service, we are not acting alone. We are a manifestation of all the love and kindness that has ever been offered to us, and our act becomes a cause for future love and kindness. Do not underestimate the power of your simple presence, your quiet attention, your small gestures of care, a gentle smile to a stranger, a moment of patient listening for a friend, a silent wish of well-being for someone who is suffering. These are not small things. They are dewdrops that reflect the entire moon of compassion. They are the threads from which the tapestry of an awakened world is woven. They are the practice of insight meditation in daily life. As you lie here, resting in the quiet of the night, know that your simple act of resting is itself an act of service. By allowing your body and mind to find peace, you are adding a drop of peace to the entire ocean of consciousness. You are a dewdrop, and in this very moment, you contain the possibility of reflecting the entire luminous moon of peace and loving kindness. Let that gentle light fill you as you drift into a deep and restful sleep. The farmer and his horse, the wisdom of equanimity. There is an ancient Taoist story about a farmer who lived in a small, remote village. He was a man of simple means, but he possessed a deep, quiet wisdom. His most prized possession was a beautiful horse. One day, the horse ran away. All the neighbors came to console him on his bad luck. They said, "Oh, what terrible fortune. Your only horse is gone. The farmer simply replied, "Good luck? Bad luck? Who knows?" The neighbors were puzzled by his calm acceptance. A few weeks later, the horse returned, and it brought with it a herd of wild horses from the mountains. The farmer now had 12 horses. The neighbors rushed over to celebrate his good luck. They exclaimed, "What wonderful fortune! You are a wealthy man now." The farmer, calmly tending to the new animals, just shrugged and said, "Good luck? Bad luck? Who knows?" His response was a lesson in non-attachment to fleeting circumstances. The farmer's only son began to train the wild horses. One day, while riding a particularly spirited horse, he was thrown off and broke his leg badly. The injury was severe, and it was clear he would walk with a limp for the rest of his life. The neighbors again came to offer their sympathy for his misfortune. They said, "What a tragedy. Your only son, now crippled. This is truly bad luck." The farmer, sitting by his son's side, replied with his familiar refrain, "Good luck? Bad luck? Who knows?" Shortly thereafter, the country went to war. The emperor's army came through the village, conscripting every able-bodied young man to fight in a brutal and deadly conflict. Because the farmer's son had a broken leg, he was the only young man in the village who was spared. All the others were marched off to a battle from which very few would return. The neighbors, their own sons gone, looked at the farmer's situation with new eyes. They understood his wisdom then. This story is a powerful illustration of the Buddhist practice of equanimity, or upekkha. Equanimity is the quality of a balanced and steady mind, a mind that is not easily swayed by the changing winds of fortune. It is not indifference or coldness. It is a deep, spacious awareness that understands the interconnected and unpredictable nature of life. It is the wisdom to refrain from labeling events as purely good or bad, because we can never see the whole picture. To be of service to others, this quality of equanimity is essential. If our inner peace is dependent on good outcomes, we will be constantly thrown off balance. If we are attached to praise or discouraged by failure, our ability to serve will be fragile. We will be prone to burnout and compassion fatigue. A steady mind, like the farmer's, allows us to remain present and helpful, regardless of the immediate results of our actions. It allows us to weather the storms of life with grace. The practice of equanimity involves creating a space of observation within ourselves. When something happens, we can watch our mind's immediate tendency to label it good, bad, fair, unfair. Instead of getting caught in this reaction, we can take a breath and create a little space. We can whisper to ourselves, "Who knows?" This simple practice can soften the grip of our judgments and allow us to see the situation with more clarity and less emotional charge. It is a form of response versus reaction. A Taoist proverb says that the willow tree survives the winter storm by bending, while the rigid oak tree breaks. Equanimity is this flexibility of spirit. It is the ability to bend with the winds of change without breaking. When we are offering service, things will not always go as planned. People may not respond as we hope. Our efforts might seem to fail. A mind trained in equanimity can meet these challenges with a resilient and open heart, ready to adapt and continue. This does not mean we do not act. The farmer still tended his horses and cared for his son. It means we act from a place of inner stillness, not from a place of attachment to a particular outcome. We do our best, we offer our care, and we let go of the results. This is a profound act of trust in the natural flow of life. It is a way of acknowledging that there is a larger intelligence at work, one that we cannot always understand from our limited perspective. As you prepare for sleep, allow the events of your day to pass through your awareness without judgment. The pleasant moments, the challenging moments. See if you can meet them all with the farmer's gentle wisdom. Good luck, bad luck, who knows? There is no need to categorize or analyze your day. Simply allow it to be what it was. Let go of the need to control the story. In this spacious acceptance, you will find a deep and profound rest. The empty boat. Service without an other. The Taoist philosopher Chuang Tzu told a story about a man who was crossing a river in his small boat. It was a misty morning, and the water was calm and quiet. The man was enjoying the stillness, feeling at one with his surroundings. Suddenly, out of the mist, another boat appeared and struck his with a loud thud. The man's peaceful state was shattered. He was filled with a surge of anger. He stood up and began to shout insults at the person in the other boat. He yelled at them for being so careless, for disrupting his peace, for damaging his boat. His mind created a whole story about the other person. They were incompetent, rude, and inconsiderate. His heart pounded with indignation. He was completely caught in the grip of his own righteous anger. He was ready for a confrontation, ready to assign blame and demand an apology. His sense of self, his ego, felt wronged and needed to defend itself. But as the mist began to clear and the other boat drifted closer, he saw that there was no one in it. It was an empty boat, adrift on the current that had bumped into his. In the instant he realized this, his anger vanished completely. It simply evaporated. How can you be angry at an empty boat? There was no one to blame, no one to direct his insults at. There was no other who had wronged him. There was only the event itself, a boat bumping into another boat. This story is a profound teaching on the nature of suffering and friction. So often our anger, our frustration, and our resentment arise because we believe there is a solid, separate person who is intentionally causing our distress. We project a story onto them, and then we react to our own story. The empty boat reveals that the source of our reaction is not the event itself, but our interpretation of it, specifically our assumption that there is a blameworthy other. When we can see that the other who we believe is causing our suffering is, in a sense, an empty boat, our whole relationship to conflict changes. Their actions are not necessarily about us. They are a product of their own causes and conditions, their own history, their own suffering. They are adrift on their own currents. Seeing this does not mean we condone harmful actions. It means we stop taking them so personally. This shift in perspective is a doorway to immense freedom. This understanding is crucial for a life of service. If we are serving with the expectation of a certain response, we will often be disappointed. We may help someone, and they may be ungrateful. We may offer kindness, and it may be met with suspicion. If our ego is invested in getting a specific reaction, we will suffer. We will feel that our boat has been struck, and we will look for someone to blame. This is not true service, it is a transaction. True service, service without ego, is like being the empty boat ourselves. The action is done for its own sake, because it is the right and compassionate thing to do in that moment. It flows from a place of presence, not from a need for recognition or a desired outcome. We offer our help, our kindness, our attention, and then we let it go. We do not attach our own sense of self-worth to the response we receive. The service itself is the reward. Alan Watts, who helped bring Eastern philosophy to the West, spoke beautifully about this principle. He talked about moving with the flow of life, like a boat that is guided by the currents of a river, rather than trying to force its way against them. This is the essence of Wu Wei, effortless action. It is an action that arises from such a deep place of trust and alignment that it feels as if we are not doing it at all. It happens through us, not by us. When you feel wronged or upset by someone's actions, see if you can practice with the image of the empty boat. Can you see their action as a manifestation of their own conditions, their own adrift state, rather than a personal attack on you? This does not make the action right, but it frees you from the poison of your own reactive anger. It allows you to respond to the situation with clarity and wisdom, rather than from a place of egoic hurt. As you rest here tonight, allow your own boat to be empty. Let go of the roles and identities you carry. Let go of the stories of who has wronged you and why. Let the currents of the present moment rock you gently. There is no one to blame, nothing to defend. There is only the simple, peaceful reality of your breath, rising and falling in the quiet of the night. In this emptiness, you will find a deep and abiding fullness. Shichiri and the Thief, radical compassion for all. The Zen master. Shichiri Kojun was reading scriptures by candlelight in his small temple one evening. The night was quiet and still. Suddenly, a man burst in, brandishing a sharp sword. He was a thief, and his eyes were wild with desperation. He demanded, "Give me your money, or I will take your life." Shichiri was not startled or afraid. He looked at the man with the same calm attention he gave to his reading. His inner stillness was so profound that it filled the small room. Shichiri lowered his book and said to the intruder, "Do not disturb me. You can find the money in that drawer." He then gestured towards a small chest in the corner of the room. The thief, surprised by the master's composure, went to the drawer and began stuffing the coins into his bag. As he was taking almost all of it, Shichiri spoke again. He said, "Do not take it all. I need to pay my taxes tomorrow." This was not a plea, but a simple statement of fact. The thief, now even more confused, left a small portion of the money in the drawer and turned to leave. He was halfway out the door when Shichiri called out to him one last time. He said, "A person who receives a gift should at least say thank you for it." The thief, completely disarmed by this final, incredible statement, mumbled a thank you and fled into the night. He had come expecting resistance and fear, but instead he had received money and a lesson in etiquette. Sometime later, the thief was captured and confessed to a long list of crimes, including the robbery at Shichiri's temple. When the master was called to the court to act as a witness, he remained as calm as he was on the night of the event. The magistrate asked him to identify the man and confirm the theft. Shichiri simply shook his head and said, "This man is no thief, at least as far as I am concerned. I gave him the money and he thanked me for it. That is all." This act of profound and radical compassion stunned everyone in the courtroom, especially the thief himself. He had been treated as a criminal his entire life, defined by his worst actions. But this Zen master had refused to see him that way. He had seen him as a human being who had received a gift. This single act of trust and dignity was more powerful than any punishment. After the thief served his short prison sentence, he went straight to Shichiri and became his devoted disciple for the rest of his life. This story is a powerful teaching on the nature of radical compassion. Shichiri was able to look beyond the man's threatening actions, the sword, and the angry words. He saw the suffering and desperation that must have been motivating the man. Instead of reacting with fear or anger, which would have only created more violence, he responded from a place of deep inner peace. He chose to see the man's inherent dignity, his Buddha nature, which was buried beneath his desperate actions. This is a very advanced form of service. It is the service of protecting another person's humanity, even when they themselves have forgotten it. It means seeing the inherent goodness in people, even when their behavior is harmful. This does not mean we become doormats or condone destructive acts. Shichiri was not weak. His stillness was a source of immense strength. He simply refused to participate in the drama of crime and punishment, and instead offered a path to awakening. The Zen master Bankei Yotaku spoke of the unborn Buddha mind, the pure original state of awareness that is the true nature of every single person. It is unborn because it was never created and can never be destroyed. It can be covered up by clouds of greed, anger, and ignorance, but it is always there, like the clear blue sky. Shichiri's compassion was his ability to speak directly to the unborn Buddha mind within the thief, bypassing the clouds of his fear and aggression. To practice this is to look at those we find difficult, those who have hurt us or others, and to ask, what suffering is driving this person's actions? This question can begin to soften the hard edges of our judgment and open a small space for compassion to arise. It is a way of seeing the empty boat, of understanding that the person's actions are the result of their own currents and conditions, not a fixed and evil essence. As you rest tonight, allow this radical compassion to touch your own heart. Think of someone you hold a grievance against. You do not need to condone their actions. Just for a moment, See if you can imagine the suffering that might have led them to act as they did. See if you can hold the possibility that beneath their actions, there is a being worthy of peace, just like you. And then, extend that same compassion to yourself. For all the times you have acted out of your own pain, let this be a deep healing. The stonecutter, the service of contentment. There once was a stonecutter who went every day to a great rock in the side of a mountain and cut out slabs for houses. His work was hard and his life was simple. One day, he carried a slab to the house of a very rich man. He saw the man's beautiful home, his fine clothes, and the respect everyone showed him. The stonecutter felt a pang of envy and said to himself, "Oh, I wish I could be as powerful as that rich man." And suddenly, he became the rich man, living in luxury. For a while he was happy, but then one day he saw the king pass by with a grand procession of soldiers and attendants. Everyone, including the rich man, had to bow low before the king. The man thought, "The king is even more powerful than I am. I wish I could be the king." And just like that, he became the king. He rode in a golden chariot, and everyone he passed bowed down to him. He felt a great sense of power and importance. But then, he noticed that the sun was beating down on him, making him sweat and feel uncomfortable. The sun was not subject to his commands. He thought, "The sun is more powerful than the king. I wish I could be the sun." And so he became the sun, shining down on the earth, burning the fields and drying up the rivers. He felt immense, cosmic power. He was the source of all light and heat. His reign as the sun was short-lived, however, as a large, dark cloud moved in and blocked his light, casting a shadow over the earth below. He thought, "The cloud is more powerful than the sun. It can obscure my light. I wish I could be the cloud." And so he became a great storm cloud, pouring rain down upon the earth, causing floods and demonstrating his mighty force. But he found he was being pushed and moved by a power greater than himself. He realized the wind was directing him across the sky. He thought, "The wind is more powerful than the cloud. I wish I could be the wind." And so he became the wind, howling across the landscape, blowing down trees and houses. He was an invisible force of incredible strength. But then he came up against something that would not yield. It was a great, towering mountain of stone. He blew and blew, but he could not move it. The mountain stood firm, impassive, and unmovable. He thought, "The mountain is the most powerful thing of all. I wish I could be the mountain." And so he became the great stone mountain, feeling solid, ancient, and unconquerable. He felt he had finally reached the pinnacle of power. But then he felt a strange sensation at his base, a persistent chipping, a sharp sting. He looked down, and he saw a humble stone cutter, patiently cutting slabs from his base, and he realized he was just himself again. This parable is a profound teaching on the service of contentment. The stonecutter's journey was a search for power and importance outside of himself. He believed that happiness and fulfillment lay in becoming someone else, in attaining a different role. His journey was a circle that led him right back to who he already was, but with a new understanding. The true power was in his own hands all along, in the simple, authentic act of being a stonecutter. Authentic service does not come from trying to be the sun or the king. It comes from offering our true, simple selves to the world. Whatever our role is in this moment, that is our place of practice. That is where we can find our power. The world does not need us to be someone else. It needs us to be fully who we are. Our unique contribution comes from our own lived experience, our own particular skills, our own simple presence. There is a Zen saying, "When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." This sounds obvious, but it points to the profound wisdom of doing what is needed in the moment, of being completely in harmony with our natural state. The stonecutter's true service was cutting stone. He had a skill, a purpose, and a place in the web of life. His dissatisfaction was the only thing preventing him from realizing the dignity of his own work. As you prepare for sleep, let this story be a gentle reminder to find contentment in your own being. Let go of the striving to be someone else, somewhere else. You do not need to be more powerful, more important, more enlightened. You only need to be you. Your unique place in the world is a sacred trust. By resting tonight, you are performing the great service of honoring your own body, your own life. Be the mountain, be the stone cutter. Both are perfect, both are you, the fish and the ocean. Compassion is our natural state. There is a simple story, told in many traditions, about a young fish. This fish was curious and a little bit restless. It had heard tales from other, older fish about a great and mysterious thing called the ocean. The stories described the ocean as a vast, life-giving presence that was everywhere and contained everything. The young fish became obsessed with this idea. It decided that finding the ocean was the most important goal of its life. It believed that finding the ocean would bring ultimate peace and understanding. So, the young fish began its search. It swam up to a wise-looking old turtle who was resting on a rock. It asked, "Excuse me, you are old and wise. Can you tell me where to find this thing they call the ocean?" The turtle looked at the young fish with ancient, sleepy eyes and said nothing, simply sinking back into the water with a gentle movement. The fish, disappointed, swam on, its determination growing. It was convinced the ocean was a hidden, secret place. It then swam up to a graceful manta ray that was gliding through the currents. It asked, "You have traveled far. You must know the way. Can you please show me where to find the ocean?" The manta ray swirled around the little fish in a silent, elegant dance, and then soared away into the deep blue, leaving the fish alone with its unanswered question. The fish began to feel a sense of frustration. Why would no one help it find this incredible thing? The young fish swam tirelessly, asking every creature it met. It swam through coral gardens of breathtaking beauty, through forests of kelp that swayed like tall trees, and over vast sandy plains. It saw wonders that should have filled it with awe, but its mind was so focused on its goal, on finding the ocean, that it barely noticed the beauty that was all around it. Its search had become a form of suffering, a constant feeling of lack, a craving for something it believed it did not have. Finally, exhausted and disheartened, the fish encountered a very old and wise fish, resting quietly in a calm, sunlit patch of water. The young fish approached and said, "I have been searching everywhere for the ocean, but I cannot find it. Can you please help me?" The old fish looked at the young one with deep compassion. It saw its earnestness and its needless suffering. It saw the friction the young fish was creating for itself. The wise old fish then replied softly, The ocean is not something you can find. It is where you are right now. It is what you are breathing. It is what is holding you. It is in you and all around you. You have never, for a single moment, been separate from the ocean. Your search was the only thing preventing you from seeing that." The young fish stopped swimming. It stopped searching, and in that stillness, it felt for the first time the gentle, all-encompassing embrace of the water. It was home. This story is a beautiful metaphor for our search for compassion, or karuna, and loving kindness, or metta. We often treat these qualities as if they are external goals to be achieved. We think we need to practice hard to create compassion, or go on a long journey to find peace. We think of it as something out there that we need to acquire. But the Buddhist teachings tell us that these qualities are our true nature. They are the very atmosphere of our being. Like the fish in the ocean, we are already swimming in an ocean of awareness, of potential for love and kindness. The search itself, the feeling that we are not yet compassionate enough, not yet calm enough, is the very thing that creates the sense of separation. It is the ego hunger for spiritual attainment. The practice is not about finding something we lack. It is about stopping, getting still, and recognizing what is already here. A famous quote, often attributed to the poet Rumi, says, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." This is the insight of interconnectedness. The compassion of the entire universe is available to you in this very moment. within your own heart. It is not something you need to generate. You only need to allow it. You only need to let go of the resistance and the searching that obscure it. As you lie here, ready for deep rest, let go of the search. You do not need to find peace. You can simply allow the peace that is already here to hold you. You do not need to create a feeling of calm. You can simply notice the stillness that exists beneath the surface of your thoughts. You are the fish, and you are already in the ocean. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go. Just rest. Let the ocean of peace hold you as you drift off to sleep. Heaven and hell within. Our mind creates our world. There is a famous Zen story about a fierce samurai warrior who went to see the gentle Zen master, Hakuin. The samurai was a man of action, used to immediate answers and clear distinctions. He was not a patient man. He strode up to Hakuin, who was meditating in his temple, and demanded in a booming voice, "Old monk, tell me, is there really a heaven and a hell? I need to know." Master Hakuin, who was small and unassuming, slowly opened his eyes. He looked the grand samurai up and down with an expression of what seemed like disdain. After a long pause, he replied in a dismissive tone, "A heaven and a hell. Why would a person like you ask such a thing? You are just a clumsy, brutish soldier. Look at you, with your silly sword and your puffed-up face. You look more like a butcher than a warrior. Your feudal lord would be a fool to have you guarding his gate." The samurai was instantly enraged. This was an intolerable insult. Who was this insignificant monk to speak to him this way? His face turned purple with fury. His hand gripped the hilt of his sword, and with a roar of pure anger, he began to draw the blade from its sheath, ready to cut the monk down where he sat. His mind was a storm of hatred and violence. He was completely consumed by his own rage. In that very instant, as the sword was halfway drawn, Master Hakuin raised his hand, pointed his finger directly at the samurai's face, and said calmly, "Right now, the gates of hell are opening." The samurai froze. The master's words struck him like a bolt of lightning. He understood immediately. This rage, this hatred, this uncontrollable impulse to kill, this was hell. It was not a place you go to after you die. It was a state of mind, a reality you create for yourself in the here and now. The samurai's anger dissolved as quickly as it had appeared. He was filled with a profound sense of awe and gratitude for this incredible teaching. He had received a direct experience of a profound truth. He slowly pushed his sword back into its sheath. He then bowed low before the master, his head touching the floor, his heart overflowing with respect and humility. His entire being was transformed by this insight. As the samurai held his deep, respectful bow, Master Hakuin smiled gently. He leaned forward and whispered softly, "And right now, the gates of heaven are opening." The samurai understood. This feeling of gratitude, of humility, of deep connection and understanding, this was heaven. It was also a state of mind, a choice available in every single moment. Heaven and hell were not external places, but internal landscapes of his own heart. This story powerfully illustrates a fundamental Buddhist teaching. With our thoughts, we make the world. Our experience of reality is not based on external events themselves, but on our internal response to them. The same event, a few sharp words from a monk, can open the gates of hell or the gates of heaven. The choice lies entirely within our own mind. This is the ultimate personal responsibility. It is the practice of training your mind. This understanding is the absolute foundation of a life of service. If our own mind is a chaotic hell of anger, jealousy, and fear, what can we possibly offer to others? We will only spread our own suffering. The first and most important act of service is to tend to our own inner garden. It is to learn to recognize when the gates of hell are opening within us, and to choose, with mindfulness and compassion, to walk a different path. When you feel the heat of anger rising, or the chill of fear, or the sting of jealousy, you can practice with Hakuin's teaching. You can say to yourself, the gates of hell are opening. This simple act of naming the emotion, of seeing it clearly, creates a space of awareness. It separates you from the raw force of the emotion. It gives you a choice. You are no longer the anger. You are the one who is aware of the anger. This is the observer mind. As you prepare for sleep, let this day go. Let go of any moments that may have opened the gates of hell. Let go of any anger, frustration, or resentment you may be holding, and see if you can open the gates of heaven, just for a moment. Find one small thing to be grateful for. Feel the simple peace of being at rest. This humility, this gratitude, this quiet joy, this is heaven. And it is right here, available to you now, as you drift into a peaceful and restorative sleep. Sweeping the path. Practice in every action. In a mountain monastery famous for its beautiful autumn colors, a young monk was sweeping the stone path leading to the main temple. It was a crisp morning, and a breeze was sending a constant shower of red and gold leaves down from the maple trees. The monk, whose name was Jin, swept with a slow, rhythmic grace. His bamboo broom made a soft, whispering sound on the stones. He was not rushing. His attention was completely absorbed in the simple act of sweeping. A wealthy scholar, a visitor to the monastery, stopped to watch him. The scholar was a man of logic and efficiency. After observing for a few minutes, he approached the monk. He asked, "I do not understand. You sweep the leaves, but the wind just blows more down. You clean a spot, and a moment later, it is covered again. What is the point of this endless, futile task? Surely there is more important work to be done, more important Buddhist teachings to study." Jin paused his sweeping. He did not look up immediately. He took a breath, seemingly listening to the sound of the wind in the trees. He then rested his broom and turned to the scholar, offering a gentle bow. He said, "You are correct. The leaves will continue to fall. The path will be covered again moments after I pass. From the outside, this task may seem pointless. It is a perfect lesson in impermanence." He continued, "But I am not just sweeping leaves from a path. I am sweeping the dust from my own mind. With each stroke of the broom, I practice letting go of a thought. With each small area I clear, I practice bringing my full attention to this one simple place. The purpose of this work is not to achieve a permanently clean path. The purpose of the work is the work itself. It is a moving zazen, a meditation in action." The scholar was intrigued. He had always seen work as a means to an end, a problem to be solved as efficiently as possible. He had never considered that the process, the action itself, could be the goal. He watched as Jin returned to his sweeping. He saw now that the monk's movements were not just labor. They were a form of prayer, a physical expression of a deep inner state of mindfulness and presence. This is the practice of bringing our formal meditation, our zazen, into every corner of our lives. The service we offer is not just in the result we produce, but in the quality of awareness we bring to the task. When you wash a dish, you can be lost in thought, worrying about the future or regretting the past. Or you can just wash the dish. You can feel the warm water on your hands, see the soap bubbles, hear the sound of the porcelain. In that moment, dishwashing becomes a sacred act. This is what it means to chop wood and carry water. It is about finding the path to awakening right in the middle of our ordinary, everyday lives. Service is not limited to grand gestures of helping others. A lovingly prepared meal is service. A carefully swept floor is service. A task at work, performed with full, non-judgmental attention, is service. It is the offering of your own presence, which is the most valuable gift you have. The Zen master Shunryu Suzuki taught that when you do something, you should burn yourself completely, like a good bonfire, leaving no trace of yourself. This means to give yourself over to the act so fully that the sense of a separate you doing the action disappears. There is only the sweeping. There is only the cooking. There is only the listening. This is the state of no mind, of effortless action, where our service flows most naturally and powerfully. This practice transforms the mundane into the sacred. It relieves us of the burden of constantly needing to achieve and produce. It allows us to find joy and peace in the simplest of moments. We stop fighting against the endless falling leaves of our lives and learn to dance with them, to sweep them with a calm and loving attention. This is a profound relief, a deep form of rest for a busy mind. As you settle into stillness tonight, bring this quality of attention to your own experience. Notice the simple, physical sensations of resting, the feeling of the blankets, the temperature of the air, the gentle rhythm of your breath. You do not need to do anything with these sensations. Just meet them with your quiet, loving awareness. This itself is a practice. You are sweeping the path of your own mind, preparing it for a night of deep, peaceful, and restorative sleep. Sweeping the path. Practice in every action. In a mountain monastery, famous for its beautiful autumn colors, a young monk was sweeping the stone path leading to the main temple. It was a crisp morning, and a breeze was sending a constant shower of red and gold leaves down from the maple trees. The monk, whose name was Jin, swept with a slow, rhythmic grace. His bamboo broom made a soft whispering sound on the stones. He was not rushing. His attention was completely absorbed in the simple act of sweeping. A wealthy scholar, a visitor to the monastery, stopped to watch him. The scholar was a man of logic and efficiency. After observing for a few minutes, he approached the monk. He asked, "I do not understand. You sweep the leaves, but the wind just blows more down. You clean a spot, and a moment later, it is covered again. What is the point of this endless, futile task? Surely there is more important work to be done, more important Buddhist teachings to study." Jin paused his sweeping. He did not look up immediately. He took a breath, seemingly listening to the sound of the wind in the trees. He then rested his broom and turned to the scholar, offering a gentle bow. He said, "You are correct. The leaves will continue to fall. The path will be covered again moments after I pass. From the outside, this task may seem pointless. It is a perfect lesson in impermanence." He continued, "But I am not just sweeping leaves from a path. I am sweeping the dust from my own mind. With each stroke of the broom, I practice letting go of a thought. With each small area I clear, I practice bringing my full attention to this one simple place." The purpose of this work is not to achieve a permanently clean path. The purpose of the work is the work itself. It is a moving zazen, a meditation in action. The scholar was intrigued. He had always seen work as a means to an end, a problem to be solved as efficiently as possible. He had never considered that the process, the action itself, could be the goal. He watched as Jin returned to his sweeping. He saw now that the monk's movements were not just labor. They were a form of prayer, a physical expression of a deep inner state of mindfulness and presence. This is the practice of bringing our formal meditation, our zazen, into every corner of our lives. The service we offer is not just in the result we produce, but in the quality of awareness we bring to the task. When you wash a dish, you can be lost in thought, worrying about the future or regretting the past. Or you can just wash the dish. You can feel the warm water on your hands, see the soap bubbles, hear the sound of the porcelain. In that moment, dishwashing becomes a sacred act. This is what it means to chop wood and carry water. It is about finding the path to awakening right in the middle of our ordinary, everyday lives. Service is not limited to grand gestures of helping others. A lovingly prepared meal is service. A carefully swept floor is service. A task at work performed with full, non-judgmental attention is service. It is the offering of your own presence which is the most valuable gift you have. The Zen master Shunryu Suzuki taught that when you do something, you should burn yourself completely, like a good bonfire, leaving no trace of yourself. This means to give yourself over to the act so fully that the sense of a separate you doing the action disappears. There is only the sweeping. There is only the cooking. There is only the listening. This is the state of no mind, of effortless action. where our service flows most naturally and powerfully. This practice transforms the mundane into the sacred. It relieves us of the burden of constantly needing to achieve and produce. It allows us to find joy and peace in the simplest of moments. We stop fighting against the endless falling leaves of our lives and learn to dance with them, to sweep them with a calm and loving attention. This is a profound relief, a deep form of rest for a busy mind. As you settle into stillness tonight, bring this quality of attention to your own experience. Notice the simple physical sensations of resting, the feeling of the blankets, the temperature of the air, the gentle rhythm of your breath. You do not need to do anything with these sensations. Just meet them with your quiet, loving awareness. This itself is a practice. You are sweeping the path of your own mind, preparing it for a night of deep, peaceful, and restorative sleep. The weaver's imperfect gift, the grace of humility. In a village known for its master artisans lived an elderly weaver named Maya. Her hands, though wrinkled with age, moved with a deep embodied wisdom. Her sight, however, was beginning to fail, the world softening into a gentle blur. Knowing her time at the loom was coming to an end, she decided to create one final tapestry. It would be her parting gift to the temple, an offering of gratitude for a long life of simple purpose. She poured all of her remaining energy and love into this final piece. The tapestry was a magnificent work, a depiction of the Bodhi tree with its leaves shimmering in countless shades of green and gold silk. For months, she worked from sunrise to sunset, her entire world shrinking to the feel of the threads and the rhythmic sound of the loom. Each thread she wove was like a breath, a prayer, a moment of pure presence. The tapestry was becoming a perfect masterpiece, a testament to a lifetime of skill and devotion. It was a flawless expression of beauty. As she was weaving the very last section, Maya paused. She reached for a thread that was not part of her original design. It was a single strand of silk that was slightly off color, with a tiny, almost imperceptible knot in it. With a slow, deliberate movement, she carefully wove this one imperfect thread into the heart of the otherwise perfect design. It was not a mistake. It was a conscious choice, an act of profound and subtle wisdom that only she understood. A young, zealous monk named Ren, who had been watching her progress with admiration, noticed the flawed thread, his brow furrowed in confusion. He saw it as a mistake, a tiny blemish on a work of utter perfection. He approached Maya with great respect and said, "Esteemed mother, I see a small flaw in your beautiful work. Perhaps your eyes have tired. Allow me to help you remove it, so your masterpiece can be truly perfect." Maya smiled, a soft, knowing smile that reached her clouded eyes. She gently touched the flawed thread with her fingertip. She said, "Thank you for your kind heart, young one. But this thread is not a mistake. It is the most important thread in the entire tapestry. I put it there to remind us that only the universe, only the Buddha, is perfect. This work is an offering from my human hands and my human heart, and a human heart knows imperfection. It is a sign of my humility." Ren looked from the thread to the old woman's serene face and began to understand. Maya explained that the flaw was a teaching on the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, the art of finding beauty in imperfection and profundity in nature. It was a reminder that our service to the world is not about achieving a flawless performance. It is about making a sincere, heartfelt offering. The pressure to be perfect creates tension and blocks the flow of genuine love. This is the grace of humility. Our service is a gift, not a performance. Our vulnerabilities, our mistakes, our flawed threads are part of our authentic humanity. They make our offerings relatable and real. When we pretend to be perfect, we create a distance between ourselves and others. When we can be honest about our own imperfections, we create a bridge of shared experience. We offer not just our skill, but our whole vulnerable self. The spiritual teacher Jack Cornfield said that the heart of the wise is like a mirror. It reflects whatever comes before it, but does not cling. Maya's tapestry, with its flaw, was a perfect mirror. It reflected the beauty of the Bodhi tree, but it did not cling to the idea of its own perfection. It reflected a deeper truth, that life is a beautiful and imperfect tapestry, and our place within it is to weave our own thread with as much love as we can. Ren bowed deeply, his heart filled not with disappointment, but with a new and deeper understanding of service. The tapestry was not just a beautiful object, it was a sermon in silk. It taught that our worth is not in our flawlessness, but in our willingness to offer who we are, completely and honestly. This is a form of deep rest, to let go of the exhausting burden of trying to be perfect. As you settle into your body tonight, let go of the need for perfection. You do not need to have had a perfect day. You do not need to have perfect thoughts or a perfect life. You can offer yourself the same grace that Maya offered her art. Your being, with all its unique and beautiful flaws, is a worthy offering. Just rest in your own authentic, imperfect, and wonderful wholeness. And so, our journey through these gentle stories comes to a soft and quiet close. Let the words dissolve now, like ripples smoothing out on the surface of a still pond. Bring your awareness gently back to the room around you. Feel the simple, undeniable reality of your own presence. The feeling of the blankets on your skin, the quiet hum of the night, the gentle weight of your body, completely supported, completely at ease. Notice the natural rhythm of your breath. It flows in and it flows out. There is no effort required. It is a perfect, silent dance that has been with you since the moment you were born. This breath is your anchor to the here and now. It is a reminder that you are alive and that in this moment, all is well. You do not need to change it or control it. Just allow it to be your lullaby. You are here, in this bed, in this moment, and that is enough. There is nothing else you need to do, nothing you need to figure out, and nowhere else you need to be. The stories have been told. The day is complete. All that remains is to surrender to the deep and profound rest that your body and spirit are calling for. This is a moment of pure being, not doing. Allow the gentle pull of deep sleep to welcome you now. Think of it not as an ending, but as a returning to the source of your own inner stillness. It is a profound act of self-compassion to allow yourself this time of complete release. It is a healing balm for the body, a quiet clearing for the mind, and a gentle nourishment for the soul. Give yourself this gift without reservation. Consider for a moment the simple, ordinary miracle of sleep, the deep trust it requires to let go of the waking world, to release your grip on control, and to drift into the quiet mystery of the unconscious. It is a natural form of meditation, a surrender to a wisdom that is deeper than our thinking mind. It is the ultimate act of letting go. May your sleep tonight be peaceful, deep, and truly restorative. May you awaken in the morning feeling refreshed, clear, and with a renewed sense of gentle purpose. May the seeds of these stories on compassion and kindness take root in the quiet garden of your heart, growing in their own time, in their own beautiful way. This space is always here for you. It is your sanctuary, a quiet place you can return to whenever the world feels too loud. The path back to your own inner peace is always open, always waiting. It is as close as your very next breath, as simple as the choice to be still. If this time together has offered you a measure of peace, if these words have resonated with your heart, consider subscribing. Doing so will keep this harbor of quiet stories close at hand, a gentle light you can return to on any night you need to find your way back home to yourself. There is nothing more to do now, nothing more to hold on to. Let the last thoughts of the day drift away like clouds in a vast, open sky. Feel your body growing heavy, soft, and deeply relaxed. You are safe. You are at peace. Let go now. Rest deeply. Sleep well. Good night.